back on this tandem axle trailer now that we got all the parts. One thing I suggest is not to buy these trailer bearing kits where they come with a bearing, a seal, and two bearings and the seal and the new dust cap and cotter pin and grease. Because what happens is, especially in these 3,500 pound axles, is the inner bore on the hub is machined the same depth all the way through, which means it takes the same outside diameter seal and the same outside diameter bearing on the inner bearing. And most kits I see, they're Chinese made. They're not made by any well-known bearing company, and they're made for a hub that's got a two-step in it. One wider step, the seal's the right size, but then it's got a narrower or smaller machined hole for a smaller bearing, which doesn't fit. So it's got a step, a larger step ground into it, and then a smaller step ground machined into it, and they don't fit. And not only that, like I say, they're Chinese bearing. I don't know who they're made by because it doesn't say on any of the bearing kits. I have some of the bearing kits in stock for the 1,000 pound axles, the one inch spindles, because those ones they don't carry much weight, so it's no big deal. But for these 3,500 pounds, you want something that's going to hold up. So I don't recommend buying for like the 3,500 pound axles like these are. I recommend buying the kit because you're going to get the wrong inner bearing for starters 9 times out of 10, unless you do have one of those Chinese made hubs that are got the two steps machined in the back end. There's the SKF numbers for a 3,500 pound axle. The green box is the seals. The first set of blue boxes going from left to right is the outer bearing in race, and the farthest one to the right is the inner bearing in race, all SKF. Now that's roughly $300 Canadian in bearings to do 4 wheels on a tandem axle trailer. And I think I do have a couple of kits in stock for 3,500 pound axles, but they are for the hub that's got the two-step machine into it for a smaller bearing compared to the race. The true 3,500 pound axle has got the same size outside diameter seal as the outside diameter of the inner race. And those are the numbers for the true 3,500 pound axles. Now these axles here, 3,500 pound, what they got the 4-inch drop, just like my trailers have them, 4-inch drop to bring it lower to the ground. 4-inch drop spindle. Now to get these bearing races out here, take an old greasy rag and try and clean as much of the grease out of there as you can, so you can see what you're doing on both sides. This side's got the bearing. All it is one piece. We're going to take the seal out, the bearing first of all, and then size hammer, just knock the bearing and seal out first. Do a little bit on each side, don't just sit there and beat on one side, because what will happen is it'll caulk and then you end up marking up your surfaces. So there's the bearing and seal out. You look at how mucky and rusty everything all is. water was getting in there. Now I'll take another old greasy rag, clean around the up top side of the wipe up. Don't clean it, but just get some of the grease out. And if you look, you'll see an indentation in the hub where you can see a good lip of the bearing race. It's a cutaway in the hub. There's 4 of them. One here, one here, one here, and one here. So when you put this in there, put your punch in there to where that cutaway is. Give it a couple of good hits on this side, and give it a couple of good hits on this side. And back to that side, other side again. Back to this side. How it falls out. I've seen so many videos on YouTube where they're pounding like crazy on one side. Pounding, and it's coming out, but it's cocking like this, and it's making it twice as hard to come out. And 9 times out of 10, you end up scarring this machine's surface where the new bearing race has to go. And then you have to clean it up to put the new one in. Sand it down with emery cloth, whatever, till you get it smooth. And if you don't notice it, and you try and put it in there, this bearing race will go in there, but it'll be 10 times harder to get it in, and it's gonna, good chance it's gonna crack them, because these are very, very hard. Now flip it over, and you want to bugger the studs up on this. Pipe is the same size. I have a bigger pipe someplace, but I don't know where it is. It gets perfect to the outside here. But I don't know where that pipe is at the moment. I look for it and I haven't been able to find it. Around here somewhere. We'll just put the studs on there to protect them. You can't just put it on the ground and drive it out, because it's got to come right out past here. And we'll just sit it on there like that. Feel around for that cutaway. You can see it right there. Put the punch on a good sharp angle. A couple of good hits. On that side, go to the other side. Go back to the other side again. It's like a game Plinko or whatever it's called. So now that's all out. So then we take this and we wipe out all the excess grease out of there. Old greasy rags. No use wasting more good ones, because this is just cluttered grease. Greasy old dirty stuff. And it's just going to make it that much harder to clean out. Then take our tub here. Yesterday when I was cleaning parts, this cap had come loose, and I guess my foot was right under there like that, and it leaked onto my sock. And I tell you, it gave me the worst burning sensation in a long time. It sure irritated the skin on the top of my foot. I put aloe vera on it and all kinds of other stuff, and it burns like crazy, but yet I can have brush on my hands and it never bothers me. So it's kind of surprised that it bothered me there. And you should wear safety glasses when doing this. This is a Varsol spray gun. Used it in a well-ventilated area. Not that this service matters much because nothing goes on there, but then we'll flip it over and we'll give this side a blast. Take a clean paper towel. These are the best. They're tough. They're meant for grease and cleaning parts. Clean that surface where the race goes in there. And the race has the bottom on this lip here. We found it in. And I'll show you that. All nice and clean, ready for the bearing. And then we got the tub here. It's got a bunch of cakes and grease in there. We'll get that out of there. Greasy rag. Majority off of it. Dropped it. Now I have a nice parts cleaning bin with a pump and everything in it, but it takes 10 gallons of arsol to fill it up. When I had the shop, I would put 5 gallons of aerosol and 5 gallons of water, and that cleans really good like that. And then it helps separate the sludge off the side of the water. You can scoop it out. But being I don't have a shop anymore, and any way to keep it warm, I would have to put a full 10 gallons of aerosol in there because the water freezes at 40 below out here. And it's not worth putting 10 gallons of aerosol in it. And to tell you the truth, that the aerosol mixed 50-50 with water cleans a lot better. I don't know why, but I find it just does. And you can put 5 gallons in it, but the pump is not fully submerged in aerosol. Because it's big, like this, like it's like, oh, it's got to be a good 40 inches long and 24 inches wide or 28 inches wide. And when you're doing wheel bearings and stuff like this, so much grease into that aerosol, and without water to help congeal that grease off to the side, it just stays separated, or not separated, but mixed in with the aerosol, and stays dirty and no way of cleaning it. But with the water in there, it helps congeal the grease off into like a little sludge pit in one end of the, either one end or is even in the middle, one big sludge coil thing, and you can just scoop it out with a strainer to help clean it. Okay, so the next part we'll put the bearings in and pack them and show you how I do them, and that'll be that. Oh, and by the way, I always have a good assortment of cotter pins on hand. You know, from Princess Auto, you can buy a kit that's got all assorted size kits. It's got like 1,000 pieces in it, or 5,000 pieces. I buy the 5,000 piece, and it's like 20 bucks. And you get all different sizes, and it comes in a nice kit box where they're all separated nicely. But over the years, it gets dumped over and spilled and everything else, and I just throw it into one of these. See, now that it's all cleaned up and the races are out of there, you can see it better. See these cutaways right here, 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 and here, and then the same thing on this side, here, here, and here. That's where you want to put your punch in on those cutaways to hit the race out when you're pounding the old race out. And I was showing you earlier, you can see the cutaways perfectly. If you try and go here, you're not going to be able to grab it with the punch because it's going to be very well flush with this metal here. So there's cutaways in the hubs where you can put your punch to drive the race out. Like in this case, to drive this race out, you're going to go way down in and you're going to go to that cutaway right there. And then you're going to go across and you're going to get that cutaway. And that cutaway and that cutaway. You're going to keep working out your way around until the race pops out. Now that's all cleaned up, we just take our BR5 bearing here and lay that down there. The BR5 is the inner bearing. in a bearing race. And just going to put it there like that. It's going to set in part way. And then we're going to take a good piece of birch hardwood and we're going to drive that in until it's flush. Don't be using a little piddly hammer like this trying to pound it in there, because you'll just do more damage than good. So pound that in until it's flush. You can see it's flush now. Now you can buy all kinds of bearing punches and stuff like that for putting bearings in, but the best thing to use is good old 3/4 inch socket set. You find the one that fits perfectly to it there without jamming the sides, and you hit it until you hear the sound change in your bottom. See how solid hit? And so you can hear that solid hit. And you look to make sure that it's seated all the way down on that lip in there, which it is. Okay. And we're going to turn it over. And we're going to grab our BR4, which is our outer bearing. And again, we're going to sit that so the cone shape is facing up. We're going to take our big block of hardwood birch. I'm going to drive that in until it's flush. See, it's flush there now. Now we have to take a smaller socket. What did I do with my smaller socket? I put it there for a weight. And this one here again is going to fit just so slightly. Hit it good sharp hits with a big hammer. Like I say, you can buy all kinds of bearing kits for hammering bearings in. But the best thing that works is a 3/4 inch drive set. It has the perfect size sockets. You know how it went solid thump? That indicated that we bottomed out. Okay? And you just look to make sure that you're bottomed out on that ledge there. And then paper towel in there to keep any dirt out. Wipe this side out nice and clean. But you will get some stuff, no matter how clean you can clean these hubs, you're going to get some kind of chunks from the rough casting inside the hub. Not machined. Clean that out there like that. And then we put our gloves on. valves, I usually get extra large, and they didn't have any extra larges in stock. I ended up getting larges, and tight going on my hands. So when my hands are good and dry, they go on not too bad, but once they've been wet, they're slippery and stuff like that. They're a bit of a more challenge to get on, which makes it a pain in the butt. Okay, are we still recording, or did we shut off again? Just gonna make sure. Yeah, we're still recording. Okay, so let me just take a tube of grease. And a double amount on my hand. Pack the bearing by kneading it like this. Now you see the grease coming up the top side. Going in the same place little by little. This is how I do it. You can buy these air greasers that you put in there, and they're plastic cups in there. You put air pressure to it. I don't like them because so many times when I've used one, see it's not all the way through in a lot of places, the grease, and you can't tell until you wash the outside of the bearing off to see that it's in the rollers. This way here I see it coming up through there. I know it's done. And I like this Petro-Canada grease. It's high temp grease. It's an EP2, and it's good from -4 Fahrenheit to 320 Fahrenheit, or -20 Celsius to 160 Celsius. It's very high temp grease. You know, it's coming up to the top side there. It's like it's oozing out through a cake decorating thing. In the palm of my hand, I just keep pushing it up and going around and around until I make it all the way 360 degrees around. And if you've got oil bath bearings in oil bath hubs, do not contaminate them with grease. You'll have a plug on the side of the hub for filling it up with gear oil. SE 90 gear oil. And do not put any grease in there at all with them, because you'll contaminate the oil and the grease will plug up when the oil can't get to it. It doesn't have pressure to wash out. So that's like that. Throw that up there for a second. We're going to get rid of the rest of this grease here. We're going to put it down in the hub. I'm going to get some more grease. Put it down in the hub. Like that. And we're going to take our bearing. We're going to drop it in there like that. And then we're going to take more grease and we're going to fill the edges on an angle to the top. So when we pound the seal in, the seal puts pressure and pushes more grease into the bearings. hands, and then we're going to get an SKF seal. And I've seen traders come in, believe it or not, with this put in this way, with this part put out that way. That is the wrong way. And I've seen traders come in like that. I'm going to put the seal down there like that. Put it started like so. And we're going to take our block of hardwood and our big hammer. Get it flush, and then take our socket that we put the race in with, tap it until it bottoms out like that. Okay, now we take this bearing, and do the same thing. The outer bearing, you need the grease all the way up inside. For a 3,500 pound axle, one of those tubes should do 2 wheels. It's $12 a tube. So this trailer will take $24 worth of grease by the time it's all greased up. That's $12 Canadian. Just smearing grease around the outside of the bearing and throwing it in there is not good enough. You gotta squeeze it through the rollers on the back side through the outside. Okay, take this grease here. Some more grease. Just put inside the cavity of the hub, way down inside. Some more. Okay. I think I washed the nuts and the bolts off of this. Did I not? you look at it, you see that this washer's got a key little tit on there that has to line up with the groove that's on the underside here, on the spindle here. And you put it on. Now we're going to take our hub and we're going to make sure that we have some grease on the lip of the seal. Now it should push on there fairly hard, but I have to stop here for a second because I see something that I didn't do. I didn't clean the spindle off on this one last time. Remember, folks, that's a aerosol spray gun. It's the most handiest thing going, but don't ever have somebody welding around you when you're doing that, because that vapor that comes out of there is highly explosive. I had, when I worked in the bush camps, they took a cab off the top of a slasher and they brought it down onto the shop floor. And this cab's bolt to the frame of the machine was 4.25-inch bolts. And the nuts had stripped in the cab that were welded to the floor plates, and the nuts were split. And night shift had they were supposed to clean because there's a little hatch door about 2 feet square to crawl through to get inside there and arc air the welds off the nuts and weld the new nuts in there. And night shift was supposed to pressure wash it out. And next morning I came in and I set up the arc air torch, my welding helmet, and my leathers and stuff, and I crawled inside there. It was all nice and clean. I couldn't smell nothing because you know you're in a shop and you smell grease and oil all the time anyway. And as soon as I struck that arc with that arc air torch, just one hell of explosion. It burnt my hair off that was hanging out of my beanie. It burnt my eyebrows. It burnt my mustache. I didn't have a beard at the time, and it burnt the side of my face. Flames just shot. The mechanics outside in the shop said the flames shot right out past my body, past my feet, and I was in there up to my waist. And I didn't get burned bad, but it just singed all my hairs and everything else, and it scared the living hell out of me. And later found out that they had used a aerosol spray gun to wash it out inside there, and then they rinsed it out with a hose. And those fumes hung in there all night in that confined space. And then as soon as I struck that arc, it just got poof. Now this should go on with a fair amount of force. Get it lined up straight, so you're right on the seal, and then you got to give it a good push. Sometimes a bit of a wiggle, like that. So you feel it bump on just like that. Okay. And then all this grease is in there. Make sure it stays in there. Then take your outer bearing. And then you take your washer, and I know the cutaway is right down here, and that's a little tit on there. So that tit goes down into that cutaway. Push the washer all the way in. Turn it backwards till you feel it click in, and then turn it forward. And for God's sakes, don't use a crescent wrench to tighten these up. Get the proper size socket and ratchet, and I'll show you this in the next step here. And we'll be back for the next step. We just have to get a socket and ratchet. Okay, I have to hurry up here because I got a thunderstorm just turning black around me here, and I have to deliver this trailer tonight yet. So I'm gonna do this really quick, guys. So you put the nut on there, the washer, and then what I do, and this is how I was trained in trade school, is put the nut on, start to tighten it, turn the spindle, start to tighten it, turn the spindle, start to tighten it, turn the spindle, and then give it one last good reef so it's good and tight. Turn the spindle. This way that seats any of the bearing races that may have not been totally in flush, and then we back it up a quarter turn. Okay. Let me find the cotter key from our assortment. Get the right length. We try and find our quarter turn. It'd be one just to the next nut nodule there. Right there. Make sure the long side of the cotter key is facing out. Push it through. Grab your side cutters. Bend it over. Tap it down flat. Take a nice clean cap. Put it on there. And that's it. Now I have to start the forklift up in order to get the wheels on. To lift it up higher. I don't know if I'll be able to record anymore, but I just run the nuts on with the impact gun, and then when I set it on the ground, I torque them to 75 foot-pounds just in case the thunderstorm hits me and I have to do it in the pouring rain here. So unless I can do it, you'll see me put the tires on. If not, it's pouring rain and I have to get this done, and I can't record in the rain with my phone. Take care, guys.